I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Redmond.
And so just plot this week. Nothing but plot. Basically, like one character moment entirely. But basically just, look, we knew that this week was going to be table setting for the finale. Like that is what it's for. And we knew there wasn't going to be a case of the week or anything like that. So, I mean, there kind of is-ish, right? There kind of is. I mean, there's a bit of a case of the week. There is a murderer this week, and there is a kidnapping and everything. But fundamentally, this is not about solving a case this week. It's about putting all the pieces in place for the grand finale we're going to get next week. But before we get started on that, I would just like to say something, which is I continued watching Miami Vice. And I cannot encourage people enough to just start watching Miami Vice. You'll have a great time. But I had joked earlier, because we were talking about Voight and we were talking about Miami Vice, about how one time Sonny loses his memory and thinks he's a drug dealer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got to that episode, and it's one of like only 2 episodes of Miami Vice. Oh, sorry, 3 episodes of Miami Vice I had seen when I was a child, when it was originally on. And I finally got to the episode, and I gotta say, it's the strangest thing in the world, because on Prime Video here in Canada, they don't have the final season of Miami Vice. So
really?
No, it ends at season 4. And there's like nothing to suggest there's a 5th season on the Prime Video page. It's very baffling, right? So the final episode of season 4 is Sonny is in a boat explosion and he wakes up with amnesia and he thinks he's a drug dealer and he becomes a drug dealer, right? He starts working for this crime family as a drug dealer. And what's so interesting about it is, first off, the guy who blows up the boat, who Sonny then like shoots in a car in the scene I remembered perfectly from when I was 7 years old or whatever. Right, that sequence is Antonio Vargas of all people, Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch, so that's nice. There's a gun mall, right? A lady running an art gallery that's that the criminal is using to launder his drug money, and it's Julia Roberts. So like she was on in her first job ever, Crime Story, and then immediately they were like, okay, well, we got to get her in Miami Vice as well. She's fantastic, and she is. But the craziest thing is, like, he goes around, he's a drug dealer, he's shooting people, he executes Antonio Vargas. Tubbs comes looking for him and he shoots Tubbs. Luckily he's wearing a bulletproof vest, but he shoots Tubbs. Right? And then so they find out that he's Sonny Crockett, and so the mob boss sends the corrupt cop who's been leaking them information here in Fort Lauderdale to kill him. And it's famous actor Chris Cooper. Like, the cast on this show, right? It's amazing to watch. And so Sonny murders Chris Cooper, a cop, and then he drives the speedboat off, and the credits roll, and that's the end of the season. And if you're watching it on Prime Video, that's the end of the show. It is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So, yeah, a quick follow-up about amnesia and me using Miami Vice as an example. I finally got to that episode, and it was maybe the best episode. So there you go. But yeah, now that we know for a fact, I think we can put it to bed even before the season ender. Like, he wasn't faking. Like, at no point, I cannot imagine they are going to say that he was faking at this point. Is that fair to say? Will you sign off on that with me now? Will you admit that I was right to have faith in Voight and more specifically the writers? Can we just agree that he wasn't faking?
I don't know. I'm going to wait till the last season.
All right.
Only because everybody needs to understand. I was probably a little flat watching this morning.
She was distracted. It was a big day for us. It was a funeral of sorts.
Hard day. Yeah.
funeral of a type, right? And so
Nice.
I understand what was an incredibly hard day. And like, oh, I got to go to a funeral. I'm going to watch Criminal Minds directly before I have to go to the funeral. I always remember that in his entire career, Roger Ebert only took back one review. And do you know what that review was?
Yes,
It was
I know what that
Unforgiven.
review.
Yeah, it was Unforgiven. He hated
Yeah.
Unforgiven. And
Yeah.
then everyone in his life was like, what are you talking about? This
So
is
he
the
had to
best
go back
movie
and rewatch
he has
it.
ever made. So he went back and he rewatched it. And he's like, look, here's what happened. I was getting married the next day. And I was distracted, and that's where my brain was. And I wasn't able to focus on the movie. And no, I was wrong about Unforgiven.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't shock me if a similar thing has happened with you today.
Well, no, I think so. And that's why, I phoned you. I mean, I just got home 45 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was for us, the form of the requisite, I guess, form of closure that we needed.
Yeah.
The three sisters, and we needed it here. And there's something going on in down on Rideau Lakes as well today, because it's would have been Redmond's 50th birthday. So yeah. And I thought, well, maybe we'll wait till Saturday and I'll rewatch it again tomorrow morning because I'll feel better. I mean, it definitely, if there was a way to just say,
you were considering. Yeah.
Yeah, I was considering, and then Dan says he can run through this better because it's different.
Don't worry. Yeah, no,
yes.
I thought, and I'm going to say it right now, I think it's a very good episode. I think it does a fantastic job of setting the table. It moves really fast. It is definitely a thriller of an episode. And I understand it being hard to follow. Like, even for me, right? Even if someone watching intently, it's going to be a little hard to follow because the episode is about keeping you on your back foot and keeping you as confused as the characters are. Because at this point,
yes,
like, they feel there's this unbelievably frustrating feeling for the characters because they all know that something big is coming, but they don't know what it is and they don't know what direction it's coming from.
And they're messing it up.
And they know they're screwing it up, but they don't know what they're doing wrong. So yeah, it is purposefully a very frustrating experience for the characters. And the show wants you to share in that. And honestly, I think they do a great job. Of course, that means it's a frustrating episode to watch.
It is what, and I did watch it closely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going, but I'm sure that I know that my brain periodically was not quite as attached.
I will be happy to clarify.
Yeah, no, I can follow. I can still remember it all. I mean, the height of it for me was Tara and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that kind of got me out of my. I watched it. It was confusing. Like, I couldn't remember who Layla and Amy were. It took me a while to remember who they were. And then, oh yeah. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So let's get thrown back and, to season 1 or of Evolution. So, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's been, so I'm doing this with Dan. I didn't watch it again. It's late for us to be doing this. But because normally we would have, but let's just wait and see. The episode did okay by the time I got to the end. Yes, I just couldn't there was nothing in it that revved me up, but then I don't think anything could have revved me up today until we had concluded, right?
Yeah.
What was anyway? It's
absolutely.
We did it.
Totally.
My son has, as I would say, seeing as we split up his ashes, probably 6 ways of Sunday.
Yeah.
So the part that has to join his maternal ancestors has been done.
Yeah.
And that is the only way I can explain it.
Yeah.
And we all feel good about it.
Well, I think that's what counts.
And that's what counts, that we have sort of a marker place. And so
probably bad that I have no idea where my grandparents are buried, isn't it? I don't have the slightest idea. It's probably Alberta. Yeah.
Oh, you mean your paternal ones?
Yeah. Well, I know where. Look, I know where. I've been to the grave of my other grandparents. I'm saying the other side. I got no idea. Probably Alberta, right?
I think in Calgary, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Probably Alberta.
Yeah.
We have family out in Alberta because that's where. How do I put this gently? Fascism is strongest in Canada.
So where would fascism
largely
go?
Because of my family. Wish that wasn't true, but that's a 100% true fact.
It is kind of weird.
They're nice enough people. They're just also fascists.
It's as I said, it's like Americans.
Yeah.
Individually, it's one thing. Collectively, got a problem.
It's a real problem. So, yeah. It's the political. It's not the people. It's the political project that all the people put together. Create engage upon, right? And they all
don't seem to understand. I could tell you something off mic. Let's get back to Criminal Minds.
We'll talk about off mic later. But yeah, the episode begins with a new character being introduced. He is one of the nurses who's going to be working in Voight's floor, right? And this is the key part. That is the character we introduced. We follow him getting the job, going around. He's supposed to not have a phone with him, but like they're not being as strict about that as I feel like they should. Like they're saying keep your phone in your locker, great, except he does in fact get his phone with him, and he gets a text saying it's time. So obviously,
no, he sent. Doesn't he send out?
No, he does not.
He gets it.
He gets
it's
the text
time
because again, they want us to know right away because he gets a text telling him it's time and he smiles. And so you were like, wait a minute, how did they plant a guy in here to be close to Voight? Well, you got to remember, he's been in this hospital for like 6 months before he woke up. But this guy was working on another floor. That's my point.
Yeah.
He got hired at the hospital itself once Voight was moved there 6 months ago. So now he's a guy. He's not just some guy. He's a guy who's worked there for 6 months and people know. And that's the important part. It's not like they, because you can say, well, did they do a good enough background check to find this guy? Well, he's been working there for 6 months, and obviously he really is a nurse. So I believe they would be able to get him in there. Right?
Oh, I am sure that he has his papers. I'm sure that he has. I don't think that they necessarily, given the nursing shortage in the United States and Canada, there is no question that if his papers are fine, and he probably had references from other places. Remember, every one of the members of the network, a good portion of them have other jobs and have respectable jobs and like lawyers.
Oh, yeah, lawyers, exactly, right? Like, so these are people who have
a whole life and a whole cover, essentially. I mean, they are people. I mean, because ultimately I may accept to some, well, we'll get to the end when we talk. Okay. I'm remembering it
a little better already. Good.
Already. But yes, no. And so, but the phone is taken away from him.
The tragedy is, right? He had the phone, but that doesn't matter. He's already been given his orders. He could have been given them at any time. He just happened to get them at work. And you know what the weird part is? I think just given where Criminal Minds has gone, we're probably going to have to watch The Following to see how a different show did this exact same premise at some point.
Well, yeah. I mean, The Following, it just didn't last long enough.
Well, it had 3 seasons, just nobody watched the 3rd season.
Yeah. Well,
but that's another conversation. We'll talk about that after a year of Dexter. It's coming soon.
Yeah.
We can only avoid it for so long. But yeah, the year of Dexter, it's bearing down on us, 2026. But the important part is, because I was just, as I watched this and as I watched their conspiracy and I watched their elaborate plans, I'm like, this was the exact premise of the show The Following. Like a guy, he's in jail, he puts together a cult of serial killers. pretty much the exact premise. And fun fact about the show The Following, it started out as Kevin Williamson's pitch for like Scream 4. He wanted,
I remember that.
He wanted Stu, Matthew Lillard, to have survived Scream and be in jail and have essentially built a network of ghost faces. That was the original premise of that show. So there you go. Fun fact about the show The Following, which look forward to us talking about not soon,
at some point,
but soon adjacent.
Yeah.
All right. So he gets the notification, and then he goes and he kills a woman and he kidnaps a child. And we don't know who the woman is and who the child is at the moment. We just know that he's in on it. And that's the end of the opening, right? He goes, he kills the person, he reports that he's done it, he lings the kid over his shoulder, right? And he heads off. And we don't know who it is or why any of this is happening, which is why I'm going to say it's a fantastic opening.
Yeah, it was a set opening. But
it's good.
Now here's that weird thing in my mind. I'm going, don't tell me they're bringing somebody else in to be the.
No, of course not.
Well, yeah.
No, but you would think that because you thought he was the one sending the email. So yeah, you could think that he was the disciple. No, I totally understand that. But we'll talk about the identity of the disciple when we get to that part of the episode.
Well, yes, we'll get there later. But yes, and then the show. It's a solid. I can say
I think it's
solid.
A very good episode.
Well, no, I'm talking about the opening.
Oh, the opening.
Just the opening. Okay. It's a solid. You end up with the crisis before you go into the cards, the front, and
the title cards. But the important part is nobody knows this has happened yet.
No.
And that's the key part, because we cut back to the next scene, and like Voight is just wandering around the floor. Like everybody is so comfortable with him now.
I know.
It's so great. It's, giving the doctor a chocolate bar, just hanging out. Right?
I wondered whether he was trying to poison her, frankly.
I know, because you're sure this is all an evil scheme on his part.
Sorry.
As ridiculous as your belief is with each additional episode, you are clinging to it, and I respect your desire to cling to it.
I'm just going to cling. I was very happy when Dr. Ochoa said to him, "You're not a good person."
I know.
Thank you. I was very happy to hear that. But anyway, that's near the end. But
all right, the important part is we find out the woman who was murdered and the child was kidnapped was the wife and child of one of the two guys who were caught when they
with the van.
Yeah, with the van. Well, the truck that had the 7 guys or 8 guys in it, right? The guys were rescued from. And so we find out that's who they were, and that the guy has killed himself in prison. And that's what we discovered. The guy's killed himself in prison, and in fact, so did the other guy from the truck. They have both killed themselves in prison. And we learn that this was part of the... Now, this is an interesting development, and I'll explain why. They talk about how he wanted to have pressure points on people to ensure that they would kill themselves rather than being caught. If you turn on the network rather than killing yourself, I'll murder your whole family. But the problem is that is a retcon. The entire point of the first 2 seasons was that he profiled people who he could manipulate to the point where they would see that death was preferable to jail. Because here's the thing, a lot of the people on the network, right, were such absolute psychopaths, like that you cannot see that there's someone out there that they would care if Voight kills.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, are you telling me the killer from Manhunter who fantasized about strangling women? Do you think there was somebody out there whose like grandmother abused him his whole life and left him, I don't know, a paper factory or something? Are you telling me that guy had like people he had warm, fuzzy feelings about who he could be blackmailed with? No, there's no way. right?
Yes, as you say,
yeah.
retconning. Like I listened to that and went, okay,
Yeah,
so
the pool
that's a
guy,
change.
the pool guy, right?
The
The
only
pool
guy
already killed his whole family.
Yeah, and the fact is, the only person who who wasn't who didn't kill himself, it was only because he had to give a message to
Exactly.
Voight.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason he's not dead, or he wasn't
Exactly.
dead, right?
The brutal man, Ronald Graver.
Thank you. The brutal man.
Yeah.
Didn't kill himself because he was supposed to give a message.
Let them know about the disciple. Yes.
Yes. So that's, so yeah, I mean, I looked at that and I went,
It's a retcon. I mean,
Yeah,
we can decide at the end of the season whether we want to let them get away with it. We're not going to pretend it's not a retcon.
Yeah, because I see now I'm getting the feeling, okay, while I could not articulate it while I was watching it, this was a place where I was very uncomfortable and went, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
to
that
me,
does not
but
track with everything.
It doesn't track, but
though.
I could not work out why it doesn't track.
Like, I understand.
That's where my brain is coming from. And so yeah, as we go along, we'll find.
We're not going to pretend it's not an issue. I think it's a dynamic episode of television. I think it does everything it needs to do.
Yeah,
I'm not going to pretend that wasn't a cheat. Okay.
Yeah, and then that, because that sets us up, for the next sort of
for the next leg of the episode, basically. Yeah. Now they go to Voight with the information, and he said that in fact Ronald Graver, the brutal man, is the only time that he ever actually killed somebody's whole family. Like, he's saying, I never actually had to do this. It was just supposed to be a threat. So yeah, it's a retcon, but then they immediately say, but we're not going to completely upend the thing by saying he's actually done this a bunch. No, he hasn't. Like, it never came up. So like, it's interesting because it's a retcon, but they know it's a they clearly know it's a retcon, and they know they're trying to get away with something. And I guess we
may have to let them have it.
We may have to let them have it, is what I'm saying. Yes. Thank you for seeing where I was going with that. I think we might just have to let them have that and move forward, just based
because
on
the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Oh, no, is so strong.
I mean, it is strong. So we get to the next. Like it's literally, this episode is leg to leg to leg.
Oh my God. They are rushing from place to place.
One step to one step to one step. And because I'm not fully capacitated.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
I was having a hard time with the fast. Now that we're talking about it, that's what I was having a hard time, because there wasn't any time for me. I needed more time to think about all of it. Yeah. Because normally I can go blump, 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 blump while I'm watching.
Yeah.
This time I couldn't. And but that's okay, because I'm gonna get explanations.
Hey, that's why I'm here, right?
Yeah, that's why you're here.
Well, it's funny because we find out that so they want to know what happened to the son. We'll get to that in a second. First, they're like, if they're coming after these families and trying to tie up loose ends, we have to be worried about the family of Aaron Stanford, right? Who buried the people alive. And the interesting thing with the Aaron Stanford is they refer to him as the Undertaker, and I'm like, damn, they just love giving people nicknames.
Yeah. Well, yes.
After all those conversations about how the press gives people nicknames, we don't give people. No, you guys love giving people nicknames.
Yeah, and you just don't want the press to get the nicknames necessarily, but
until you're writing a book about them. David Rossi, the high voltage killer. David Rossi, yelling at that woman for wanting to be famous and then writing a book where you give everybody a nickname. I see what you're doing, David Rossi. But anyway, the important part is they've given it a nickname. Aaron Stanford is the Undertaker. Again, Aaron Stanford, so he's back this week, and they're like, where is his wife? And we got to get in his wife and daughter if they're tying up loose ends, which makes perfect sense. Like, they're absolutely logical, all of their actions this episode. But then they're like, oh my God, we can't find him, right? And we can't find his wife and daughter. So this is understandably something they're very worried about immediately. Who could blame them? And so they go through quite length. They find out that the wife went to pick up the daughter from school one day and then just disappeared. Like no one has seen them since. And this guy has also, Aaron Stanford, has also disappeared.
His
Like
name
he was
is
supposed to
McKay.
be, oh no, his name is like Mackie, but that's the clue.
Yes.
That's where it goes. Right? His name is Mackie. He has mysteriously disappeared, and everybody's freaked out.
And
How
he's
is
in the
this
prison
possible?
system.
Exactly. He was supposed to be brought into prison. And so Luke, well, first we go and see Voight to update him about all of this. And we discover that, and we get the horrifying idea that the only reason they would have someone would have kidnapped the son is if that guy was a pedophile. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, he is a pedophile.
No, we don't. We have no reason to believe that. Because
No, that's what they said. No.
Listen,
I remember clearly.
Let me keep talking. That's what they say, and everyone's worried about it. But none of the characters say, or they could be using him as leverage or to make a point. They seem to suggest the only reason is that the guy is a pedophile. But no, the kid gets returned unharmed the next day.
Yeah, but that doesn't have, but right away, they're worried about it.
Yeah, I know they're worried about it, but I'm saying it's peculiar that they act that is the only possible explanation for what could have taken the child.
No, but you have to accept. Here's where I'm going to defend.
Please.
Right? That what they finally say near the end of this, right, is that we have been running so fast and we have been looking everywhere so fast that we're not paying attention. Like we're not paying attention. We're not taking the breath to think about things. And this is an indication of one of the things that they weren't thinking through. And had they thought it through,
that they're like, but I'm just saying like it is just as likely that this child could have been abducted for leverage because Voight has already told them that he has built, his entire organization around having leverage on people.
Yes.
Well,
okay.
Yes.
But remember, see, here's the funny thing that's happening with them.
Please.
To some extent, is that because they're all sort of convinced, like I just can't do it. Right?
I know.
Okay. I don't want to do it. Let me put it that way. But they're also that he has changed and somehow or another, for God's sake, Penelope's sleeping in his room. Everybody's so friendly to him. Dr. Ochoa thinks he's just the greatest thing next to, as they say, the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? Yeah. She just thinks he's wonderful. He's wandering around the whole ward all, by himself.
He has the run of the place.
Yeah, he's got the entire run of the place. And he's just this, so they've all got their guard down. And that means that they are forgetting things that he has already told him because they're thinking somehow or another, what I would say is that they're thinking, well, because he's not in charge really, and he's amnesia and stuff like that, they are not remembering just how good he was at organization, at structure, at making sure that everything works. And so the whole idea of leverage, and even if you are right and the mass is right, that yes, he did have the amnesia thing.
Yep.
Okay, completely. He had already structured things in place and that the rules are still being followed.
That's true.
Right?
Yes.
And they are underestimating his background, because now we're talking 6, 7, 8 months. And, they're worried about somebody triggering him like last week.
Oh, yeah. That's
what they're worried, as opposed to worrying about the structure he left in place.
That's true. But
and so because they're being pushed consistently, they're letting their guard down.
Is the correct term to use.
Yeah, they're on tilt, and they've let their guard down with respect to Voight and the world he would have left in place, because he had a plan if he ever got caught.
Oh, yeah. And we're seeing where that goes. And this is where it's getting very interesting.
It was nice to see his wife.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, she's not actually in the episode, but it's nice to
No.
see a little note to her. But we'll get to that in a second. First, the next thing that happens is Tara asks Penelope to perform the wedding, which, assuming nobody gets killed next week, we will definitely end the season
Next
on
week
a wedding.
with the wedding.
Yeah, we're gonna end next week with the wedding because
So
you
that-
want to
that
end
gives our
every
fear-
season with a party, if at all possible.
Yes, well, and that puts our fears to bed about Rebecca dying.
Oh, I know. Well, no,
To a large extent.
No, because they could be setting us up. Because you got to
Yes,
remember.
I know, to a
the rule-
large
All right,
extent.
the rule is you have to end a season of television with a wedding or a funeral, and that's just how it is. Like, that's just how you have to structure a season of television. If you're not ending I mean, well, that's the Shakespeare idea. What's the difference between a comedy and a tragedy? Is tragedies end with funerals, comedies end with weddings.
Yeah. Well, yes, but now you're going to put the screaming fear that Rebecca is going to die
I know.
back into the mix.
I'm terrified. Are you not terrified? I'm terrified that Rebecca's going to die next week. Or Tara, Jesus. But she already got shot and is preposterously back at work walking around. Like, they say, oh, well, she's not letting me lift things. You should be lying down at home. You got shot 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You had bullets pierce your chest. Come on.
Yes, come on. Oh, and by the way, just to let in the before thing, right?
Yeah.
Where they say
The
last
previously
time,
yeah.
or the previously on Criminal Minds. Yeah, when you watch it, yes, they are right. He does shoot Tara first.
Yeah, we do see it this time.
We do see it. It's clear because I watched it clearly this time.
We were both confused when we saw that the first time. It is very clear when you go back and watch it.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's keep moving forward.
They do the thing. They do the thing. We're all very happy. She's going to perform the wedding. We all love Penelope. Come on, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But
I wonder. Okay.
Immediately afterwards, they get another piece of mail, but this time it's a giant crate.
Yes.
And they do a body heat sensor. They make sure there's no bombs, and they find out there's a person inside. They open up the crate, and it's the missing child.
Yes.
Who has shown up with a message. And it's nice to see. I mean, it's just a little flashback to see JJ just like hanging out with a child and talking to a child and being good with kids. And you're like, right, that was her original role on the show. She talked to the families of victims and was good with people.
Yes.
Just a little flashback to original JJ. And I liked that scene. I thought she was very good with the kid. It felt authentic to me. So there you go.
Yes. He had a message for JJ.
But he has a message for JJ, specifically referencing Will, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then saying that if you turn over the family members of the Undertaker, right? If you turn over the Undertaker to us, we will give you back the wife and daughter of the Undertaker.
Yes.
And this is interesting because, of course, we don't, and this is the part of the episode I found great, which is they're immediately like, oh, okay, interesting, but do they actually have it? And so the fact that they immediately jump to, I think they're bluffing, I loved. And it was just showing that the characters are actually very clever because they go to the house, right? They go to the house and they search the house. And boom, it's not like they just disappeared from the world, like that one day they just never came home. No, all of their personal items have been cleared out of the house. They weren't kidnapped, they were running.
Yes.
And so they're like, okay, well, how would that happen? How would they know why would they know to run? B, why would they think that running, like, how would they know how to run? And so, of course, they immediately go to, okay, and this is where we get a little nod to Voight's wife, which is, well, he definitely told his wife to run that time. So they're like, oh, okay, Voight must have done this, which is what leads them to, and I mean, it's the most suspicious thing about Voight this season, right? Because they go to his place and they search his bed, and it turns out he did, in fact, have a phone.
Yep.
And he phoned them and he told them that guys would be coming for them and they'd better run if they value their lives.
Yes.
And here's where it gets interesting because this is something we're going to need explained next week. right? And I completely agree with you. Are we expected to believe that Voight just off the top of his head assumed they were still in danger? And I mean, again, it's a retcon. They may be asking us to believe, and we may have to accept that the message of the episode is he just assumed, based on his cleaning up loose ends protocol, that because the Undertaker was captured alive, that his family was in danger. Now the question, so if he's completely innocent, we have to assume that, right? But the question becomes, well, why didn't he just tell the FBI to put her and the daughter into protective custody?
Yeah, well, they were already in protective custody.
Well, no, they had a guy they weren't in protective custody. They were living in their house, living their lives. They just had a guy kind of looking out for them.
Watching them all the time.
Yes.
And then they disappeared.
The reason I think they can use, I don't know, this is not a prediction. I don't think they're going to say this necessarily. But the reason I think they can use, and I think they can get away with if they use it, is they can have Voight say that he did not believe the FBI was secure. Given that there are leaks everywhere, given that every step of the operation, people seem to know what the team is doing, right? I think he could make the argument next week that the reason he went to the wife and daughter separately is because he thought that if he told the government where they were, it might wind up with them getting killed and captured.
Yeah, well,
I think they could get away with that.
Well, I don't quite buy that, because that's part of the problem. Like, first of all,
it's the biggest problem with the episode.
Okay,
why didn't he just tell them they're still in danger?
Yeah, because the BAU team isn't leaking.
No, of course the BAU team isn't leaking.
So he could have told Joe.
No, he could have told Joe, but the problem is the BAU team isn't in charge of protecting people. And that's why I think they could get away with it. It's not like the BAU team is in charge of making sure that people aren't getting murdered, right? They are in charge of solving these cases. And when someone needs to be protected,
but
they hand it off to the marshal
service. This is
service.
Voight.
It is Voight, and if they took him seriously, yes.
And they would take him seriously.
Yes, but they largely hand off protection to the Marshal Service, and we can see what a good job the Marshal Service does of protecting people, since 4 of them get murdered by that nurse this week.
Yeah, well, and that nurse
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but that nurse isn't the one who's doing the leaking, because that's the strange thing. He's not the one doing the leaking, because he just got onto the ward. He got onto the ward basically to leave a phone at the nursing station so that Voight could take it.
Yeah.
And why nobody missed that phone is number one.
Well, no, because it's a new phone. They didn't miss the phone. He didn't steal somebody's phone. It's a new phone.
Yes, I know, but it had to be taken away from him, and it was on the nursing station, because Voight got a phone off of the nursing station.
Yeah, and he
puts it under his mattress. Well, why isn't Voight's room being checked for things like that?
Now they have established 100% that everybody trusts Voight maybe more than they should.
That's what I said.
They have established that over the past 8 episodes. So I don't have a problem with the idea that Voight's room isn't being randomly searched. No, that I don't have a problem with that. That has been well established
just
in the
under
episode.
His mattress. You'd think someone could have figured, when they're changing his bed sheets, because they get changed every day.
They don't. Well, no, probably not every day. Because again, he's not infectious or anything. He's not in there because he got shot or has an infection. He's there because he has, memory issues and personality issues. So they're probably not changing his sheets every day. But yes, I mean, they could have found a better place to hide it than under the mattress. I'm not going to disagree with that. Put it in a vent or something, Voight, just for our benefit, for the narrative benefit. Put it in a vent or something. Now, I agree with you on that front. But no, it's established that he's not being watched 24/7. There's
I know.
On top of him. We can debate whether that's a good idea or not, but the show has well established that he is being trusted.
Yes, which from my perspective is ludicrous.
Madness. Absolute
I'm glad you agree.
Well, no, I mean, I agree that you think it's madness. I think he's, I think he's a good guy at this point, but that's another conversation. It's a conversation we have been having for the entire season that we will 100% finish next week.
Yep.
That conversation is going to be resolved next week, one way or another. Right, but yes, so they figure out, oh my god, just before we get to the Voight exposure stuff, I do want to point out the thing that I absolutely love is that David's going to therapy.
I know, and he's trying to hide it from everybody.
Because he knows no one, everyone will judge him for going to therapy because all of these FBI agents hate therapy. And what I love is not only is he going to therapy, but the show is acknowledging that none of these characters trust therapy except for Tara. It's like the meta of the show that we complained about has become the text of the show. And I love it.
Oh, well, yeah, because
was that a message specifically was that a message specifically for us? A question we're going to have for Breen soon enough. Just like my other question, did I get a character named after me last week? Something we somehow forgot to mention?
Anyway.
No, just in passing last week. How did we not mention that it's like Dr. Weisberg said he's going to be okay? I'm like, did I get a character named after me? I think I might have gotten a character named after me.
Or at least a mix.
Well, no, I mean, it's
yes.
I have a very unusual name. So like literally there are like 2 families in the entire country of Canada with this last name. There's almost none of them in America either. It's not even a common name in Germany or Hungary, right? So we have a very unusual name. So to put my actual name on the show might actually like open them up to being sued by me if I thought that it was a negative thing. So if they put a name in there to reference me, but it's not actually my name, you can get away with that, no problem. It would be something a lawyer would say. I mean, for example, there's a character named after me in a video game, and my name, Daniel Weissenberger. This character's name, Doral Weisberg. So yeah, pretty clear that the character's named after me. But no one can prove in a court of law that character was named after me.
Well, no, because it's just not close enough.
Exactly. It's close enough that you can tell that that's what it is, but it's not close enough that I'm going to make a fuss about it. Nor would I ever. It's my favorite game series it's my favorite Japanese game series. So there you go.
Yeah. Why would you make a fuss about it?
I'm not going to make a fuss. Just like I'm not going to make a fuss about maybe there's a character named after me on Criminal Minds. Who can say? But yes.
Well, we are there as Dan and Sheila. So already.
Absolutely. And we were already have characters named after us. I'm just saying I might have gotten a second character named after me is the only point I'm making. But yeah, we were so happy when we found out he's going to therapy. Oh yes, my God. Finally. Yeah. Like I wanted to cheer.
But it was so funny with
scene.
His pills when he was going to take one of his antidepressants, right?
And she's like, it's Ozempic. She's like, that's a shot. Yeah. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? And my line would be, never mind. Yes, yes. What are you talking about, Dave?
Just be honest. He's like, fine, I'm in therapy. And it's just the idea that in the world of Criminal Minds, the most shameful thing you can admit is that you're trying to improve your mental health.
I know. He said, well, because none of them need it, right?
No.
So he said, and plus, it's made him feel better.
Yes.
And he's much happier.
Better. I am not having hallucinations of Voight anymore because I'm actually dealing with my issues. Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. It made me so happy. Oh, to finally have a character talk about, well, yeah, therapy's important. I mean, now you're watching Lucifer, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Lucifer is a riot.
It is a riot, and it is a show that is 100% about why therapy is important.
And I just love the therapist, of course. And I loved her in, was it Suits she was in?
Yeah.
No.
That's who she is. She's Sheila from Suits.
Sheila from Suits.
Yeah, she's oh God. This is so embarrassing.
Yes.
How am I forgetting the best character from Suits names? Name. Oh, this is so bad.
Yes, his face is
Rick Hoffman's character.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on Rick Hoffman's character's name.
Well, I can see him.
Yeah, is it double L? Oh God. Anyway, the point is,
he's the best.
He's
Go
the
watch
best character.
Suits.
I don't
Yeah.
understand how they thought they could do. They've done a Suits spinoff. By all accounts, it's terrible. Rick Hoffman isn't in it. I don't understand how you continue doing Suits without Rick Hoffman.
Yeah, he should have been sent to LA to run the office.
To open the new office. And then, you
Yeah.
can have all the sexy shenanigans you want, but Rick Hoffman and his wife have to be there, or else there's no show, which is why I've never watched Suits LA. All right.
Yeah.
But yes, I loved the idea that, the characters are getting therapy. Oh my God.
Yes, we're happy. So happy to see.
Yeah. But the important part is,
of all things, Dave.
I know, getting therapy.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Undertaker says he will help them if he gets a walk. And they're like, that's never going to happen. I'm like, you're the FBI. Do you know how many mob hitmen you've given a pass to?
Voight.
You gave a pass to, well, no, but I mean, you gave a pass to Voight because you couldn't prove a damn thing.
Yeah,
they never caught Voight.
No.
You couldn't
but
prove
you know what
thing.
I mean.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's like, do you know how many mob hitmen that you have let walk and given new lives to, right? So they would roll on the thing. The Undertaker, I'm not saying he's not a bad guy. He's a terrible guy, right? Yeah. But he killed one. Yes. But he killed one person. Oh, yeah. Well, I forgot to mention, they find him because Luke brilliantly says, people just get lost in the system all the time. And as he points out, it's a person just sitting at a keyboard typing things in. You put the numbers, you hit the wrong number on a keyboard in someone's social security number, and you think you got somebody else in there. So they search. And it's like, oh, he's there as a guy named McKay, not Mackey.
Instead of Mackey, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's smart. Right? Luke is he's like, it's not a conspiracy, it's just fallibility. And his lawyer, and as he points out, his lawyer made sure he was listed accidentally under the wrong name on his instructions because he didn't want the conspiracy, right, the organization, to be able to find him, which
yes, and he says, and I mean, what makes this even more so, he says, look, I'll give you the whole network.
Yeah, just let me go.
Just let me go. I'll give you the whole network.
And they act like this is impossible. And I'm like, you're the FBI. You cut deals all the time. And he killed one person. You gave Sammy the Bull Gravano a walk. He killed like 20 people. And then when you gave him a walk, he went back to dealing heroin. Don't tell me that you could never deal with the Undertaker. It would be immoral for you to deal with the Undertaker.
Yeah.
It's insane. Come on. But yeah, it is still a pretty good scene.
Yes, right. And then he brings up
the
engineer.
Oh, the engineer. Who is the engineer? It's the guy who taught him how to do bombs, who taught him how to do all these things. That's very interesting. And so there's another character out there. Is the nurse the engineer? We don't know. It's very puzzling. Is the nurse the engineer? Is the nurse another character we haven't met yet? What is going on there? It's very interesting, bringing up this extra character. The nurse could be the engineer. We don't know. We don't get any identification. And they're very coy at the end of the episode about one thing, which we'll talk about when we get there. But yeah, the engineer is important, but he doesn't explain who the engineer is yet. We're going to need them to find the wife before we do that. So they go to Voight and they find his phone and they're like, what did you do? And he's like, I told them how to escape and this is where, like I said, he could have said it's because I know there are leaks and I didn't trust you guys to keep them safe. Yeah. And I think it is a problem in the episode that he doesn't say that. I think he should have said that because maybe they want to keep it up in the air. Maybe they want us to say, was he using them as a bargaining chip or did he genuinely want to help them? And maybe that's where they want us to be up in the air about. So I could accept that that's why he doesn't just say that. If
you're
he wanted
a lot
to
more
say that,
accepting than me.
Yeah, I know. No, but
I'm just going another secret he kept.
That's true. But the thing is, it would work to your theory, right? Your disbelief that if he was keeping them, that he would still do, if he were evil, he would still do the same thing because he would be hiding them away as a bargaining chip, rather than trying to keep them safe from the organization he created, as I have suggested he is doing.
Well, yes, but
yeah.
Penelope finds them. They bring them in.
Well, no, but they only find them because he says where they are.
Oh,
Right?
he said
He does
that's
turn
right.
them in.
Yeah,
He does turn them in. He does accept Dave's promise, right?
yeah.
But they, oh my God.
That's
Again,
right. Okay,
you
I
want to talk
forgot
about
that.
great moments on this episode. They arrest him for obstruction of justice for hiding the witness. And he says and this is, by the way, the place where your manipulation theory really rings true.
Thank you.
No, it does. Because one of my favorite moments this episode is Tyler, pushes him in the bed, puts cuffs on him, and he says, "I'm glad you got to do this.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got to arrest me. This is a good experience for you." And yeah, okay, that is 100%. Like, if he's manipulating him, that is the best manipulation I've ever seen in my life. That is such a perfect moment. I'm glad you got to put the cuffs on me. This is good. Like, this is going to be healthy for you emotionally. Fantastic moment. Like, fantastic. And again, it's the kind of fantastic moment that can only happen if you, as writers, fully understand all of your characters and the journey they've been going on for years. It is the kind of moment you have to earn over years. And that's what they've done. It's like when I talk about the only joke in the history of the TV show 24, when in season 7, the president of the United States says, it's like, "How can I know what side you're really on, Jack Bauer?" And Jack Bauer says, "With all due respect, ask around."
Yeah.
It's like, he's given up his entire life for the U.S. government a number of times. That's all he has at this point. And in the same way, that moment, because it is such, not closure necessarily, but it is such a huge thing for Tyler to have, quote unquote, caught Voight at something, given how his life has been. Obviously, he wanted to shoot Voight back in the day, but now he has professionalized his vendetta. And Voight's right. Getting to arrest Voight is a big deal for him.
Yeah.
That moment.
Yeah. Let's say that even if you were right in the amnesia, he's remembered a lot
he's
more.
Got the instinct. Well, no, he's remembered most things now. He really has. Like, and they've been clear about that. But he's still got those manipulation instincts. And that's what I love. That's what I love about how they're presenting it. But yes, then they search to find out how he got a phone. So, obviously, in any other episode, right, Garcia would just check everyone's financial records. But no, because they want to have like this visual lineup sequence where you have a moment of tension with the actual killer, right? So they have to do a thing where she scans their phone to see whose phone is connected to the SIM card of the phone that was purchased, that was given to. And I'm like, I mean, I understand it's a fun sequence, and I understand narratively why it has to happen, but I can walk into a corner store and give someone $100 bill and walk out with a phone that I have no connection to.
Yeah.
So the idea that you could scan someone's SIM card on their phone and know that they have a connection to the phone they left in his bed is, for him to find, is absolutely preposterous. They just want to have a dramatic people walking down the line. Are they going to catch him? Oh no, they caught the woman he framed scene, right?
Yeah.
No, I understand why they want to do this scene. I'm just saying, realistically, it's preposterous. I mean, we've seen Better Call Saul, a show where an entire season of the show Better Call Saul is just about like the economics of burner phones.
Yep.
Like, it's a whole season of the show.
And believe me, most people who watch Criminal Minds have seen
Better Call Saul. At least I hope.
And Breaking Bad. Please.
You're not watching Better Call Saul. First off, you got to watch Better Call Saul first if you haven't seen these shows.
And then you watch Breaking Bad.
And then you watch Breaking Bad to see the aftermath of it. And you realize, oh yeah, Jimmy was an okay guy.
Comparatively speaking.
But compared to Walter White, Jimmy's a saint.
Yeah, I know.
Compared to Walter White.
He's got a conscience.
He actually has a conscience. He actually worries about things. He's not a complete and total monster, which Walter was since before he became a drug dealer. He was always a bad guy. That's the point of the show. He
Yep.
just found his niche late in life. Oh my God. Yeah, like the cancer diagnosis gave him the freedom to be the guy he always wanted to be.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a good. All right. So now here's the important thing, right? This is where it gets important. So they've badgered they badger him. He says he doesn't want to talk because he doesn't give it up right away. And Dave and him start playing flick football with a piece of paper in a moment I absolutely loved. Because again, like, it is the level they have gone to by first him being a fanboy of David in season 1, to 2, David hallucinating him about him in season 3, and then in this season, the relationship that these two characters have built is one of the most fascinating on the show. Because Voight, as crazy as it is, has achieved his goal of turning David into the father he would have wanted. Right? The father he never had, the father he would have wanted. Because, I mean, obviously, whatever happened to his original dad happened. Maybe he set a fire, maybe he didn't, we don't know. The father he definitely didn't want was Cyrus.
Yeah.
Right? Cyrus Duval, an absolute monster. And let's face it, we know David. David would have liked to have had a son. He lost his kid. He would have loved to have a son, just the kind of guy he is. And so the way their relationship has developed this season, with each of them very much getting something they need from the other one. In David's case, honestly, in Voight's case, we'll find out if it was honestly next week. But the weird part is, even if he's manipulating David, right? Even if it's all been a manipulation, I think he really does wish he had had someone like David.
Well, because David is, remember, he has this, because he's read all of David's books and everything,
Exactly.
he has this idealized version of David.
Yeah.
And he is a manipulative enough person to construct for himself something that David would eventually be able to relate to.
Yes.
Right?
Or he is actually, but okay, I'll stop saying the or. Well, I'll let you get away with just talking about this for now.
Stop doing the or. We all know you think that Voight is this wonderful.
I don't think he's wonderful. I'm
being.
saying he's honestly suffering from amnesia, and the show has confirmed he actually has empathy now. I'm not saying he's a great guy. I'm saying that he has been an honest actor all season, is what I'm saying.
Yes, I know that's what you're saying. And
that's all I'm saying. No,
even if I'm down to like 5 to 10%,
you're still clinging. Cling away, right? Cling to the wreckage next week. Once your boat has crashed, I'm
not the only one in the boat anymore.
No, that's true. You're not. There are other people who agree with you. I have found out.
I'm not alone here.
No, you're absolutely right. And so, but here's the key part, and this is the part I found really interesting in this plot line.
Okay.
Here we go. We find out why Voight's lawyer was killed. Because he had found a connection, right? Because there was a connection between the guy who was framed, and that happened after Voight left. Right? That happened the guy was framed after Voight left. And we find the piece of information that he discovered, which is in the police file. There was information that Cyrus Duval was a person of interest in the case, and someone went by the door, so went by his evil cabin, and it was answered by a 20-year-old woman, who said she was Cyrus's daughter and that he was out of the country. And boom, there we go. Now we know how someone knew all about Cyrus and knew all about Voight, and this is the key part. Could plausibly, I'm not saying I'm confirmed, but plausibly have had enough audio recordings of Cyrus's Voight. Cyrus Duval
voice
to have create his voice to create the
AI
the deep fake last week.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That was a big problem we had last week, is how, you can match the image. How'd you match the voice? And the answer is maybe she's got some recordings of it. But now they have announced, because they already think that there could be a woman involved, because they were nice to a child. And I'm like, A bit of a stretch,
you know,
but I understand.
yeah, okay.
I understand your belief.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is a
Makes sense to me.
patriarchal structure, the
It
FBI,
is.
you know.
Very patriarchal structure. So you
So,
assume a
yeah,
woman.
no.
And there were at least two people there. There were two people there, and they wore the masks and they used voice changers. But
Yeah.
this is the key thing. The voice changer had a female voice because he said it's like the TikTok voice. Now, you've heard
Yes.
the TikTok voice, right?
Yeah.
That horrible computer voice
Yeah.
thing
Oh,
that
God,
gets
help
put on
us.
memes. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I hate it, but you know right away what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it could be a woman using that to mask her voice. Like that does make perfect sense.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's completely logical.
So
Which-
Dr. Ochoa is back in the mix.
Not just back in the mix. They have this week said Cyrus had a replacement
Daughter who is
sidekick
now in her 40s.
who is the exact age of Dr. Ochoa.
I know.
I think there's a pretty big push in that direction, guys.
Yeah. All of a sudden we're going, we didn't want it to be Dr. Ochoa.
No, we badly didn't, but they're certainly aiming in that direction.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the police did not mention what the woman who answered the door looked like, but she is Tessa. I think Tessa Duval is what they know her as because she was pretending to be his daughter. But
Yes.
we have no confirmation of that. We don't know who she is. We don't know what she looks like. It's just, oh my God, I'm so excited for next week when we got that piece of information.
Yeah, so are they gonna start looking into Dr. Ochoa? Because they all accepted her.
Oh, they
And
all completely accept her.
Yeah, and everything she said.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah.
All right,
So now
so
we're moving to the final
Voight,
scene.
I mean, and this is again, whether it's manipulation or whether it's their genuine relationship, I loved the moment of David essentially playing that you have to trust me. You have to prove that you are who you say, or you have to trust me. You have to give up these people you say you want to protect. Because, like either you trust me to do this or you don't. And that's what our relationship is. He plays the card and Voight folds and he tells Dave how to contact the wife and daughter of the Undertaker. So there you go.
Yeah.
And so then immediately we cut to them being brought in. And, they're going to be here. And so the wife goes to talk to the Undertaker and, yells at him until he agrees
To talk,
which is nice. Yells at him until he agrees to talk, right, and threatens him, and it's a charming scene. And so he talks about checkmate, the final move, which is that they're going to clean up everybody. They're going to kill the 8 hostages and maybe their families, right? And so they wanted a whole bunch of people, and so now they have to protect everybody. And as we're pointed out, that's going to stretch us real thin, which is true. Because, you need a team of people on each house, right? And the house where what do you call it? He also gives them the house where he met the engineer.
Yes.
So he gives them the house where he met the engineer, right? Which is very close to the house of the victims, of last night's victims. Because again, they've been planning this for months. So there you go. And so they're going to watch everything. Now, what's interesting is they find the house, they find its names, but they assume he might be lying because that guy lives in Florida and hasn't been to that house in years. I'm like,
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. Thank
Hasn't
you.
been there. That house has been empty. He's
for
not
5 years.
there.
But it's like, yeah, I don't know that makes it a lie. It's just you would use an empty house for that job, guys. He just might not come back to it. But the key part is, and the part we have to remember is, we get the great scene of all of them waiting in the stakeout. Right? They're just frustrated sitting there waiting in the stakeout. They're desperate for anything to happen and absolutely nothing is. And we do the montage of the time getting later and later. And then they realize something. Wait a minute. Wait. So what is checkmate? My checkmate is when, and thank God we're not talking about Zugzwang anymore, because checkmate, much better term for this. It's like, how could they possibly, go after all of these people at once? And they start thinking about it. They're like, what have they accomplished by giving us this information? And the answer is, they have made us spread ourselves completely thin. because we are using all of our FBI assets and all of our US Marshals, right, to stretch across the entire city. And as he said, why have they set this up right in our backyard? And that is the best question. Why have they set all of this up right in our backyard? And the answer is because that way you can get them to occupy all of the people who would normally be focused on guarding Voight. And it's a brilliant observation. And then they're like, oh my God, this has all been a distraction to get us looking the other way while they grab Voight. Like, yeah, I love how they got there. And this is a weird thing where the villain's plan makes perfect sense. Because last time we were wondering, why on earth would they kidnap these 7 random guys and then just hand them back over?
Yep.
Why would they do that? It was really easy. And the answer is to give you more people you had to protect.
Yep.
To take your eye off the ball. And I'm like, yep, perfect. This is perfectly structured. And it makes the previous episode where we were baffled by why they were doing it, it makes their actions make perfect sense in retrospect. I loved this reveal.
Okay, now who said something about it being just out of your zip code to Emily?
Oh, yeah.
Was that Mackie?
Yeah, I think it's
that was Mackie at one point when they're talking about the engineer, because they go back to talk to Mackie just says, oh yeah, but it's just out of your zip code. And that is one of the key things that Emily
to make them
uses,
realize that they're all local.
That it's all local and they're being used.
They're being manipulated.
Yeah, they're being manipulated.
Yeah, it's a great reveal. It is a fantastic
No, it is.
reveal.
And so all of a sudden, so now they've got to hunker down, pull back, and try and figure out.
Yeah, because the thing is, they've already pulled all the men and their families into the FBI. The houses are effectively empty. We assume that there are decoys inside the houses, like, season 2 when Elle had to go in and pretend to be the woman so the rapist would attack. We all remember that episode.
Yep.
So there's decoys inside. The guys and their families are all safe inside the building. But the point is, having guys waiting outside, guys waiting inside. They've tied up 50 agents and they have to watch the 8 houses, and they have to watch the place that the engineer used as a staging ground. So they've tied up 50 people on this job. So yeah, it's a perfect plan. Like, it really is. They thought it completely through how you could get the better of these guys. And so then we cut to the office. Not the office, the hospital, where Dr. Choa is saying that if you're not going to work with us fairly, right? If you're not going to be honest with us, we can't work with you. So I'm having them send you back to your minimum security prison rather than being willing to continue treating you. And then the murderer shows up, and they are really coy about who the murderer is.
Well, the thing is she says, and I'm leaving. So,
and
she's leaving, and Voight goes and grabs her.
Yeah, and we're like, what? Why is he being evil? And he's like, I think, everything just got eerily quiet. I think someone's about to get murdered.
Yeah.
And here's the question. They are so coy about who the murderer is in this scene. Like, all logic would tend to suggest that the murderer in this scene, who shoots the 3 federal marshals and the nurse, right? It's got to be the other nurse. It's got to be the male nurse who's been killing people all week, right? But they don't show you that it's him, and I found that very strange.
Yeah, well, because that I didn't go there. Because you just saw, you just see him come through the door, and then that's the cut.
Oh, no, and we earlier saw him, because we saw his hand with the gun earlier, right? We see his hand with the gun, and then we see him come through the door, and then we do the cut away. And it's like, all we see is the back of the dude's head and the gun aiming. We know it's a white guy, right?
That's about it.
But that's it. And we see the hand, so we're pretty sure it's a man based on the hand and the fact that it's white skin, not bothering to wear gloves. That's key. But it's a man's hand. I went and I looked just now. Yeah. But the real key element is they go and the team shows up, they see all the bodies, and Dr. Ochoa is not dead. She is not amongst the bodies.
No, she is gone. Voight is gone.
Voight is gone, and Dr. Ochoa is gone.
And the murderer is gone.
Well, of course.
Just to
to be clear. No, hey, clarity is always for the best. But yes, you're absolutely right. The murderer is also gone. And I mean, at this point, how can she not be the disciple? Can you think of an explanation how this woman can't be the villain? Because I'm having trouble with that. I guess it's possible.
I'm sitting here going, no, she's got to be. And it's funny, because we didn't want it. We called it what, in episode 4, 3,
something like that, 3, 4,
very early.
Check. We're like,
which has always
probably her. We're like, it's probably her.
We're getting more and more, right? And then now you're looking at it like she's caught by Voight. Well, Voight is, so somebody's killed all of these people.
Yeah.
And they're all gone. And she has to be. And what she was doing was freaking out Voight because he knows what's going to happen if he goes back into Gen Pop.
Oh, yeah. Like, this organization could murder him. Like he is in real danger. Murder
him or just,
we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
All we can do is, oh my God,
we
are set up for.
I know, but when I got there, when they announced that Lee Duvall has a lady working for him who is the exact age of Dr. Ochoa,
that was exactly what I thought too.
If it's not her, I'm going to be very surprised and almost worried that the show is cheating.
No, well, yeah, because we can say, yeah. So she
because as they said, all of these leaks have been coming from inside her building.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we keep getting told. All of these leaks are coming from inside her building. And this is the key part, right? We know there's a murderer working there, but that murderer only just started working there. Like, he's not responsible for the earlier leaks because he only just started working there. Somebody was leaked from inside, and I think we got a pretty good idea who that is.
Yeah, well, it looks, you see, it's just been increasingly more likely that
all of the evidence seems to be pointing in her direction.
Yes.
I think is what we've both comfortable coming down to.
Yeah. At this point,
At this juncture, we're like, it would be weird if it wasn't her, honestly.
Yeah. They're not going to bring in a brand new character at this point. So
it would be strange if they brought in a brand new character. It's like, oh no, Voight's wife was the disciple. What are you
talking about?
That's insane.
No,
they're not going to do something like that. Exactly, right? They're not going to magically have a brand new character show up in the last episode.
Yeah.
You can't pull off the killer from Scream's mask and have it be no one we've ever met. It's just not the way fiction works, man.
Yeah.
Like, these people are so much better at writing than that.
Yes. So I think, well, yes. Basically it's a 99%. It's Dr. Ochoa is the disciple.
It's possible they're going to do something else with it. They've been surprising us for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
They have been armed with interesting surprises. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that they're going to pull a twist and it's going to be satisfying. I'm just saying all of the evidence that they have given us points in one direction, and that's to Dr. Ochoa.
Yeah.
Again, maybe we're wrong.
Not at the very beginning, because when we said it, said it.
You know what? I was just going to say the dumbest thing I've ever said. You know what? Maybe Penelope went evil.
Yeah.
That would also fit all the evidence. All of the evidence would make perfect sense if Penelope's turned evil. But no, we don't believe Penelope has turned evil.
Penelope cannot turn evil.
No, structurally based on the show, Penelope can't turn evil. Just fundamental.
Because, first of all, nobody would ever watch the show again.
That is definitely an issue that they would have to grapple with.
No, we cannot have Penelope as an evil mastermind. Sorry, guys.
No, it's just not going to happen. But yeah, so now you can
would
see
we,
that. Oh, please.
If
why
they
would we?
did something like that, would we stop doing the show?
No, of course not. No, we're not insane.
I
We keep
know.
watching it. They're filming season 19 right now.
I know.
You think we're not going to be there for that? Of course we're going to be there for that.
Yeah. I know.
I love the fact that they're going to be finished filming season 19 by like probably like September, October. So, I mean, maybe even sooner, maybe end of August, who can say? I don't know how complex the episodes are, but they're filming the next season right now.
Yeah.
We could be watching it in like February again. I'm so excited. I mean, it's up to Paramount how they want to structure it. Paramount, of course, you were wondering, was Paramount going to fold? Are they going to bury Criminal Minds? The answer is no. They gave Donald Trump his bribe, so they're going to be allowed to do their merger with Skydance merger. They paid off the president. You know how the presidency is run like a protection racket, and you have to give the president a bribe if you want to do anything? You know how America has always worked?
It's just more open now.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yes.
It didn't used to be you had to give the president a bribe to get a business deal. But now, because America is being run like the mob is running it, president gets a taste if you want to do any business.
Yep.
It's literally the president of the United States is the mob boss from Godfather Part 2 who like hears that Vito and his friends have pulled off a heist and he's like, where's my taste?
Yep, where's my taste, guys?
Literally, I didn't do anything, but I have the power to make your life difficult, so maybe I get a taste of this business deal. And that's exactly what's happening. The CBS, Paramount, is paying him $20 million to give him a taste of their business deal. Because then he'll let the business deal go through. But the point is, and I know this is the smallest of silver linings, the thinnest possible silver lining imaginable, at least Paramount will have no trouble continuing producing episodes of Criminal Minds.
Nope. And I mean, that was that thing that we did discuss, right? At some point, we've talked about that. The BAU, we were kind of worried, but the BAU is kind of outside of that
venue.
Yeah. They're such a specialized section.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's like, I love the show. You love the show. We love talking about the show. We also hate cops. So, that's a whole other conversation. But what's interesting is this show, of course, this whole season was made before the new Trump administration. I don't know what the next season is going to be.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say right now, I will not be mad at the show. And I'm not expecting the show to do this, and I'm not going to be mad if they don't. But like, if you were being honest about how the FBI runs, at some point in season 19, someone would have to talk about they have no resources because Homeland Security has been shanghaiing agents to make them go round up brown people to put in concentration camps.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting.
I'm not expecting the show to do that. I'm not expecting them to become political. This show has never been political.
Well, it has once.
The one time it was political.
Once. And it was an accident, I am sure.
No, like they decided, well, we got to say something about how bad Donald Trump is. Yeah, that episode aired the day after Donald Trump won the presidency.
The first time. It was such a fluke.
It was such a fluke.
Yeah.
No, but the show's never been political.
No, never. Never. It's not like Wise Guy.
No, it's not like Wise Guy. And I will say, you or I, were we in a TV writing job, would look at the fact that we're writing a show about the FBI, and in real life, the director of the FBI is now like a drug-addled podcaster, right? Like a drug-addled podcaster who spends all of his time gambling in Vegas and hanging out with Joe Rogan and doesn't show up for work. How could you not be excited to tell stories about that?
But we're going to wait for films.
Well, no, but the problem is, if you're making the show Criminal Minds, you have to live in a world where the FBI is competent.
Yes.
The FBI isn't competent anymore because, again, they're being led by a drug-addled podcaster who wants to work remotely from Las Vegas, who wants to be the remote director of the FBI.
I just
And the second in command is a steroid-addled podcaster who complains, who can't stop going on TV and complaining that he has to actually show up at an office every day.
I know.
And put on a suit. And he can't just like put on his muscle shirt and go on a podcast and yell about the deep state and get like coffee sponsorships. I mean, it's like, it's got to be driving like the writers crazy on Criminal Minds that they can't talk about this stuff or use this stuff because they have to live in a world where the FBI is good at its job.
Yeah.
The myth of hypercompetence. Oh my God. All right, so yeah. Hopefully I have convinced you now, as we talk about it, that this was a really good episode of television.
Yeah. No, I mean, I did with my few little reservations, which I was able to connect to while we were talking. No, it is a good episode and it has set it up and we've got big questions and how they're going to do it at the end. And it will be the same as it was at the end of season 2. Season 1 was different, but season 2 ending too, right? We were so like, holy geez, what the hell? You know?
Oh, I know.
And this is going to be, what the hell?
Yeah, that's exactly
because they have kids. Well, I mean, Ificho is in on it, and she has to be because I can't imagine the two of them not being able to overpower this killer.
Well, you never know.
This is
he does have a gun, but he's got to take both of them.
He's got to take both of them, and they're at close quarters.
No, I know, but I still think that she will not reveal to him.
Oh no, not to Voight
right away. Not to Voight. No.
All
right, so yeah, I think it is a really good episode. I think I cannot wait for next week. I am so desperate to watch next week's episode. It's going to be amazing.
Well, will it? Okay,
please.
go on.
No. You say will it before I change the subject.
I was going to say, will it be as satisfying though as the end of Squid Game?
Well, no. What could be? Squid Game this isn't going to wrap everything up. There's a season 19 on the way.
That's right.
Squid Game could only be so satisfying because it was the last episode of a TV show.
Yeah.
You'll hear us talk about Squid Game on Tuesday, in case you're wondering. We recorded that a couple of days ago, and we're going to post it on Tuesday before the season finale of this. But before we go, I want to talk about one more thing Miami Vice related, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The thing about Miami Vice, of course, is that it's made by a bunch of people who at the same time would go on to make the show Crime Story. Right? And so it shares a lot of cast members. Obviously, this show had more, ran more, did more episodes, so they had more amazing cast members. And of course, like, the casting people on Miami Vice seems to have been legendarily great at their jobs, because every great actor of the next 20 years got one of their first jobs on Miami Vice.
Yeah.
They're just like, their person was just like, okay, who is every great New York stage actor? Great, you're flying down to Miami for a week.
Yep.
And you're being on this show, is how they did it. And that's what gave us. And then all of those guys got TV credits, and then they all became famous. But the episode, as I had said previously, I don't know if I mentioned this in the show, but I told you about it. The weirdest thing in the world was that the first season on Prime Video is missing an episode. There's an episode of Miami Vice that isn't there, because the first episode was 26 seasons, but it also had a 2-hour movie. But the way they've structured it on the Prime is that the 2-hour opening movie is counted as 2 episodes. So it still has 26 episodes, and they just, instead of 27, so they cut an episode. And the episode they cut is the William Russ episode. And if you watch Criminal Minds, William Russ was the dad of the crippled guy who delivered sex workers to his son to murder.
Yeah.
It was not a great episode of Criminal Minds.
No, but it was
But it was William Russ, and he got a job, you know? He got paid that week. That's all we care about. The point is, William Russ, if you listen to our, sub podcast here on the channel, Style Section, the Wise Guy podcast, you'll understand that William Russ is one of our favorite actors of all time because he played one of the greatest TV characters of all time. And if you watch this episode, and what I had never realized was, because why would I, his IMDb picture, William Russ's IMDb picture is him in a white suit with like a white linen suit and a white shirt, and the shirt is like open 4 buttons, and he looks incredibly 80s. That's from his episode of Miami Vice. So obviously he thinks it's important enough to his career that it's his IMDb photo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you watch this episode. It's called Evan. It's all about him. And the premise of this episode is that he came up out through the academy with Sonny, and Sonny and him and another guy were partners, right? Worked together in the academy out on the street. And the premise of the episode is that the third guy in their group, the third musketeer, they found out was gay. And Sonny didn't know how to cope with it because he's a man from the South who grew up in the 1950s, you know?
Yeah.
And William Russ's character, Evan, bullied their third partner until he got himself killed and has been racked with guilt over it ever since, and has become like the most dangerous risk-taking cop in the entire ATF. And I swear to God, if you watch this episode of television, you're like, okay, I think they wrote Roger for him based on his performance in this episode of television. Because he's not exactly Roger, but it's like, yeah, it's just a guy who is in complete mental collapse and a dangerous man, with his foot on the gas, headed straight for a wall. And you watch and you're like, oh, so this is where the impetus for the Roger character came from, entirely based on how good this performance is. So yeah, I guess what I'm really recommending is go watch Miami Vice. There's at least 3 really great episodes, but one of them isn't on Prime Video for some reason.
I don't know. Yeah, that is strange.
It's
anyway,
absolutely baffling. But yeah. We cannot wait for next week. We are desperate to see how this all wraps up. And I think you'll agree with me when I say we are confident that they are going to pull it off.
Yep. I think they will.
I'm
sure we may have problems. You never know, but
it's happened.
Essentially, they will do a very competent job.
They will land the plane.
Yes. And hopefully, yes.
In a satisfying way for us.
Yeah.
We just don't want them to break our hearts. What we're saying is end with a wedding, not a funeral.
We want Shakespearean comedy, not Shakespearean tragedy.
Exactly. End with a wedding, not a funeral. I mean, if you filmed it both ways, use the cut where there's a funeral, where there's a wedding not a funeral. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they shoot 2 endings anymore.
No,
I know that's the thing that used to happen with cliffhangers, but I don't think they did that.
Because if they're in production with season 19, they certainly learned long before.
Oh yeah, no, they committed to an ending quite a while ago.
Yeah.
You're right. If they're already shooting season 19. Oh my God. So yeah, we're desperate to see next week's episode. It's going to be a blast. For now though, thanks for watching, listening. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's any profiling related fiction you'd like us to check out, although keep in mind, we've already got The Following and Dexter on our schedule.
Yeah.
I saw a YouTube video the other day where it was like the title of the YouTube video, wait, was Dexter always bad? It was like re-looking at the whole show, and I'm like, yeah, it was always a bad show. It was never good. But we're still going to do it. But yeah, if you have other ideas, drop us a line at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you're listening on an app, podcatcher, watching on YouTube, hi. Rate, review, and subscribe. That's how people find out about the show. We're going to see you back here next week for the grand finale, where we talk about this show, believe me, at length. I'm sure there's going to be a ton to delve into. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
and have a good week.